Imagine yourself standing barefoot on wet, worn stone. The air is thick, not just warm, but dense with steam and the smell of damp skin, perfumed oil, old sweat, and something vaguely metallic from the water pipes running behind the walls. A capsorius, one of many in the great humming machinery of a Roman bathhouse. You are not here to relax. You are here to work. You are a bath attendant, and the day begins early. Even now, after just a year or two in service, they are cracked from the lye soap, raw from scrubbing backs with the srigel, a curved scraping tool made of bronze, the rich like their oil, applied thick and removed thoroughly. That job falls to you. The tepidarium, warm and misty, is where the conversations begin and the judgment. The caldarium, the hot room, is where you begin to sweat, not from exertion, but from proximity to the blistering steam and heated stones. You arrive just after sunrise, before the bathers do, when the hypocaust, the underfloor heating system, is still crackling to life. Roman men often left their clothes in the care of the capsarius while they bathed, should anything go missing. Not cruel, perhaps, not always, but condescending. You are not a citizen. You are not free. You may have been born into this role, or sold into it, or inherited it from a parent who also worked the baths. You would be the first and last to be blamed. Theft was a constant concern. Some patrons would even tip you handsomely to ensure your loyalty. Others would threaten you. Your job is to prepare the space. That means sweeping ash, lighting fires, and filling basins. It also means laying out towels for the first arrivals. The wealthier patrons who prefer not to wait, and certainly not to serve themselves, never leaves you entirely. You are a worker in a place designed for cleansing, yet never truly clean yourself. You are young, perhaps only 14, maybe 15. You don't speak unless spoken to. Your eyes stay down. Or a patron who thanks you sincerely and places a coin, small but meaningful, into your palm. Or perhaps you are expected to move smoothly between guests, between duties, between moods. A rare day when the baths are quiet, the water warm, the air fragrant, and your body not so tired. But unlike breathing, there is no comfort in it. Your hands are rough. There is a rhythm to your day, a rhythm not unlike breathing, slow at first, then rising to a kind of midday chaos, then tapering again into the quiet hum of evening. Your ears ring from the echoes of voices bouncing off tiled walls. And when you sleep, if you sleep, your dreams are filled with running water and whispered commands. The frigidarium, the cold room, is slippery and loud. Don't ever, ever make eye contact with a senator's wife. Your tasks are many and specific. Oiling limbs, scrubbing backs, massaging sore feet, delivering fresh towels, fetching lost sandals, heating small copper pitchers of water, and removing used cups. Sometimes you carry messages between patrons, discreetly, always discreetly, and all the while you are noticed and not noticed, expected to be present but invisible. You know the rules. Don't speak unless asked a question. Don't touch a patron unless instructed. And of course, you watch over their clothing. That's perhaps the most delicate part of your job. There's no dignity in the way they speak to you. The sandals you wear are not yours. The tunic is frayed and damp. Your hair is rarely clean, despite your sprittings and the smell. Sometimes, though, there are moments, a quiet pause in the laconicum, the dry sweat room, where light filters through a round opening above and steam swirls like breath made visible. but mostly it is toil. Quiet, relentless, intimate toil. You are part servant, part cleaner, part invisible companion. By nightfall, your arms ache, your tunic is stained. It was, as they say, an honorable role, service to the public, a step, perhaps, toward something better. But it was not serene, not relaxing. And if you imagined yourself soaking in a Roman spa, drifting peacefully through marble halls, you wouldn't last a day. Let us leave the steam and sweat of the bathhouse behind and step quietly into the chill of a Roman dawn, the kind of morning where mist coils gently along the Tiber, and the marble columns of the Forum still cast long, soft shadows. You're about to meet a man whose name has echoed across 2 millennia, but we are not here to recount his conquests. Not tonight. No. We will observe him before the legend took shape, before the laurel wreath, before the Rubicon, before the knives. We begin with a boy, walking alone in a city that was crumbling, not in stone, but in trust. Gaius Julius Caesar was born in 100 BCE into an old but fading patrician family. His great ancestors had once been consuls, proud, austere men whose names had weight in the Senate. But by Caesar's childhood, his family was respected, not powerful. He grew up watching the Republic fray, watching power shift away from the Senate and toward generals who commanded the loyalty of armies, not laws. Caesar was clever, quietly ambitious, and very patient. He knew how to speak, and even more importantly, when not to. As a young man, he aligned himself with the populist faction, the populares, rather than the elite optimates. This was not the obvious path for someone of his class. But Caesar understood something the Senate didn't. The people, the hungry, exhausted, overlooked masses, were ready to follow someone who made them feel seen. His early life was shaped by loss and risk. At 16, his father died. Not long after, he defied the dictator Sulla by refusing to divorce his wife Cornelia. This nearly cost him his life. He fled Rome, exiled himself rather than submit, but exile became education. He traveled, studied rhetoric in Rhodes, was captured by pirates, and, charmingly, told them he would come back and crucify them, which later he did, politely. When he returned to Rome, he did not shout, he smiled, he hosted lavish games, he built friendships, even with rivals. He borrowed heavily to fund public events, plays, gladiator matches, festivals, and the people loved him for it. They didn't know how deep in debt he was. They only saw the spectacle. He climbed slowly, quaestor, then aedile, then praetor. He governed Hispania with enough success to earn a triumph. But instead of waiting to celebrate it, he ran for consul, always choosing movement over ceremony, always watching. As consul, he forged an alliance with Pompey and Crassus, 2 of the most powerful men in Rome. This first triumvirate was never official, never written down, just an understanding between 3 ambitious men. Then came Gaul, 9 years of campaigns, endless dispatches sent back to Rome, his words carefully chosen to portray victory after victory, even in hardship. Caesar, through his own writings, shaped the public's perception of himself, a self-made myth. When the Senate grew nervous, when Pompey drifted back toward the optimates, Caesar faced a choice: obey the summons and return to Rome as a private citizen, vulnerable to prosecution, or cross the Rubicon. You know what he chose? But crossing the Rubicon wasn't a shout of defiance. It was a whisper of inevitability. When Caesar entered Rome, he didn't storm the city. He walked in calmly, surrounded by loyal soldiers, and found that many of his enemies had already fled. He became dictator, briefly, then again, and then finally, for life. But his greatest triumphs came with a cost. The Senate feared his growing power, feared that the Republic had already died. And on the Ides of March, in 44 BCE, they acted. In the quiet marble of the Theatre of Pompey, beneath a statue of his former ally, Caesar was stabbed 23 times. And yet, even in death, his rise did not end. The Republic did not return. It fell with him. Or perhaps it had been falling all along. His heir, Octavian, would become Augustus, and the empire would begin. But the slow, deliberate, calculated ascent of Julius Caesar remained the template for power in a crumbling state. He did not drown the Republic in blood. He drowned it in charisma, patience, and public favor. No thunder, no battles in Rome itself, just a quiet erosion. A man walking forward when everyone else stood still. Now we descend, not into a palace nor a ruin, but underground, through narrow, dim corridors, beneath Roman streets, beneath homes, baths, and temples. Here, tucked away from the noise of the city, we find a space that does not belong to emperors or generals, but to men of secrecy. Welcome to the Mithraeum, a small, cavern-like shrine devoted to one of the most mysterious cults of the Roman world, the worship of Mithras. And though hundreds of these sites have been discovered, from the banks of the Thames in Londinium to the desert forts of Syria, no one alive today can say with absolute certainty what happened inside. But tonight, we can imagine. Picture a room just large enough to hold a few dozen men. The ceiling is low. The air smells of burnt incense, damp stone, and warm oil. The walls are decorated with fading frescoes, bulls, scorpions, snakes, stars, and fire. Symbols layered atop symbols. You would not understand them immediately. Even Romans outside the cult did not. At the far end of the room, there is an image. Always the same scene, always central. A young man, Mithras, slaying a bull. His gaze is turned away, distant. A dog and a serpent drink the bull's blood. A scorpion pinches at its genitals. Above them, celestial symbols float. The sun, the moon, the zodiac. It's not just art, it's a code. A map of mysteries you must earn the right to understand. No women are allowed. This is a men's cult, mostly soldiers, civil servants, traders. A brotherhood bound not by politics or wealth, but by initiation, a shared secret. And in the Roman Empire, where gods were many and public rituals often grand, Mithraism was something else entirely, silent, hidden, and intimate. Initiation into the cult was not a single ceremony. It was a journey through 7 grades, each with its own trials, symbols, and meanings. You might begin as a Corax, a crow, lowly and observant. Then, if accepted, ascend through Nymphus Miles, Leo, Perses, Heliodromus, and finally, Pater, the father, the highest rank. Each step required tests, rituals, silence, oaths. The exact nature of these ceremonies remains uncertain. Some say there were mock deaths, others describe blindfolds, whispered prayers, shared meals of bread and wine, echoes, perhaps, of other sacred traditions that would one day spread across the empire. What was the appeal? For Roman men, especially soldiers, far from home, the cult offered something rare, a sense of belonging, of order, of cosmic structure. Mithras was not a chaotic god. He was a savior figure, born from a rock, who fought darkness and brought light. His myth, like his cult, unfolded in the quiet. The Mithraeum was a place where rank didn't matter as much as devotion, where the outer world of politics and warfare was left behind, but it was never meant for outsiders. The cult left behind no holy book, no sermons, no sweeping declarations of faith, only architecture, imagery, and silence. Today, archaeologists find these shrines hidden beneath churches, buried beneath centuries of soil. And when they unearth the altar stones or light a torch beneath the painted vaults, they are left with more questions than answers. Who was Mithras, really? A Persian god, reborn through Roman reinterpretation, a solar deity, a celestial myth mapped onto the stars, or something even more personal, a god of initiation, change, and brotherhood? We may never know for certain. But tonight, as we sit quietly in the imagined glow of oil lamps and shadowed arches, we glimpse the quiet power of belief, not shouted from rooftops, but whispered in underground halls. Let us return to the surface now, but not to the crowded streets or the grime of labor. We step instead into the quiet courtyard of a domus, a private Roman townhouse, elegant and symmetrical. The sun filters gently through colonnades. Water murmurs in a shallow fountain. Cypress trees sway in the walled garden. This is the domain of a Roman senator. And though the cushions are soft and the marble cool, the work of being powerful is never truly restful. You wake before dawn, not from hunger or orders, but out of habit, a habit born of visibility. Every day is a performance, and the day must begin early, or someone else will step forward and take the stage. A slave brings you warm water, another adjusts your tunic. You do not dress yourself. You do not prepare your own food. This ritual is called the salutatio, a morning audience where lower status men come to greet you, offer flattery, ask favors, or seek your help in legal matters. Some are old friends, others are ambitious climbers. Most want something. You listen, nod, offer vague encouragement. Perhaps you hand out a small coin, the sportula, a symbolic gift. But you are also watching, gauging loyalties, building alliances. Every handshake is a thread in the tapestry of influence. Then it's time for public duty. You cross the forum, trailed by attendants and onlookers. Your robes are bright white, bleached to perfection. The toga candida, worn by those in public life, is heavy, both in fabric and implication. It signals virtue, seriousness, and readiness to serve. You might attend the Senate today, or a court case, or an oration on the rostra. You do not always speak. Often you merely observe. Lend your presence, your approval, your carefully neutral expression. Lunch is taken late, lightly. Perhaps olives, bread, figs, wine diluted with water. Then a short rest, but never full sleep. In the afternoon, you might walk in the gardens, or oversee your household staff, or visit another senator's home for quiet conversation about grain shipments, governorships, or marriages that might tie your family to his. And then, as the golden light softens into evening, you prepare for the cena, the evening meal. This is not just dinner, it is theater. Guests are carefully chosen, seating meticulously arranged. The conversation moves from politics to poetry, from gossip to philosophy, and then back again. You offer not just food, but entertainment, musicians, dancers, perhaps a reading from a new playwright. All subtle signs of your culture, your wealth, your taste, but none of it is idle. A dinner guest today may become a Senate ally tomorrow, or a rival. You must listen as much as you speak. And when the final course is cleared, honey cakes, fruits, spiced wine, and the candles flicker low, you return at last to your bed. Not to sleep easily, but to think, to calculate, to remember who smiled and who frowned, who drank too much. Warm baths, educated slaves, sweet perfumes, exquisite food. You do not toil. You are not scrubbed raw in a bathhouse, nor praying in secret under stone ceilings. But this life, too, is exhausting in its own way.